Hey guys, what's going on? It's your big dreamer and doer G Dinero coming to you today with a new Financial Freedom Friday, or F3 as I call it. And today we're going to talk about gold, Bitcoin, or both, and a 24x return. So you're not going to want to miss this one. But first, remember, none of this is tax, legal, financial, investment advice. It's your buddy G Dinero helping you increase your financial literacy to help put you and your family on that path to financial freedom. And a huge special thank you goes out to CCJ56. I think this is the second time I've recognized them recently. And they said, thanks, G. The Confluence Cloud discussion during the Tesla portion was super educational. Super appreciate your personal insights. Barney Rubble Trouble said, I don't think people realize how alpha your content is. Thank you, Barney. I appreciate that. I'm sure more and more people will be following you. Thank you. And the number of followers is increasing. But again, like I've said before, I don't do it for that reason. It just kind of happens by default sometimes. And then ISGP0404 said, I also like you're doing the comparison with MicroStrategy and Tesla. I also appreciate the fact that you admit when you make a mistake, which many podcasters don't ever say. And guys, I hear that a lot, right? That people like to see if somebody else makes a mistake. If you're the expert and you make a mistake, own it, right? Don't just sit there and try to wash it underneath or make it go away. Own it. Somebody else can learn from your mistake. I often say that you, as the audience, you're going to learn more from my mistakes than from my wins. You're going to learn more from my mistakes than from my wins. Now, with that said, I'm going to show you something that's probably going to blow your mind right here. So let's go ahead and dig right in.
Boss, you know we finally here, right?
Well,
It's Friday then, it's Saturday, Sunday, what? It's Friday then, it's Saturday, Sunday, what? It's Friday again, it's Saturday, Sunday. Let's go. What?
So this is the Bitcoin over gold chart. Now, there's a lot of people out there, right? There's all these people out there saying that gold is dead. And you guys know who the people are that are constantly bashing gold, right? The hardcore Bitcoiners constantly bashing gold, telling people that if you still hold that shiny metal rock, it's, you're a fool. It's going to be replaced 100% by Bitcoin. And then you have the other end of the spectrum. You have the Peter Schiffs of the world. I'll go ahead and call him by name, that are full on gold bugs that say Bitcoin's dead and it's never coming back. And then you've got the subset of people in the middle, which I've become one of those again. I've always held gold. It's crazy. I've held it for years. But I gave it up thinking, well, not completely, but I got rid of most of it thinking, well, why would I want to hold gold when there's this new amazing store of wealth called Bitcoin out there, right? And so then I started listening to people like Anthony Pompliano, like James Check from Check on Chain, like Jordy Visser, like Lynn Alden, like James Lavish. And when you start listening to some of these thought leaders and Larry Lepard that have been in the traditional markets for years and years and years, you realize there's room for both. They can serve similar, if not different purposes for you. And I'm going to kind of go over a few of those things. But this is what the chart looks like when you sit here and you talk about Bitcoin versus gold or gold versus Bitcoin. Now, this is going to be slightly out of order. I'm going to jump ahead and then come right back to this again. So pair trading Bitcoin and gold. Why? Well, both are considered hedges against inflation, although Bitcoin really hasn't been a fantastic hedge against inflation. It has and hasn't. Monetary debasement, yes, meaning if they start printing more and more money, debasing the money, that liquidity finds its way into both gold and Bitcoin, right? So both are considered hedges, we'll say, against inflation and monetary debasement. Both are considered store of values, right? You put your money in there now, and when you need it in a year, 5 years, 10 years, at the end of your lifetime when you're retired, chances are it's going to be worth a whole lot more than it is today. Really, it's not worth a whole lot more. Gold, 1 ounce of gold is still 1 ounce of gold. 1 Bitcoin is still 1 Bitcoin. It just takes a whole lot more of those crummy pieces of paper with pictures of dead presidents on them in order to acquire that 1 ounce of gold or that 1 Bitcoin, right? So keep that part in mind. One's been around for 5,000 years, the other only 15 years, right? So you've got the gold standard, pun intended, and the new kid on the block, Bitcoin, which is proving to be replacing it with some qualities that actually work better, right? Easier, more portable, more fungible, easier to transport, etc. They both can move in sync. So there's times where they're moving together and there's times when they're moving inversely of one another, right? And both are, generally speaking, going up and to the right versus fiat always. That kind of goes with the store of value narrative. And so what I mean by that, going up and to the right, generally speaking, if you looked at a 3-month, a 6-month, a 1-year window of time, it could have gone up, it could have gone down, it could have been flat. But if you start looking out and expanding the horizon, you go out to a 5-year window, both of them are pretty much going up and to the right. If you go out to a 10-year window, going up and to the right. Go out to well, you can't go to a 20-year window. Bitcoin hasn't been around that long. But you go to a 5,000-year window, and gold has gone up and to the right, essentially in value, right? But again, that's when denominated in fiat. So that made me think, what about this? And now I'll come back to the chart. What about this chart where we sit here and we talk about a potential pair trade between the two? So for this, what did I use? I used IADSS, the Invest Answers Decision Support System. I put Bitcoin over gold. That's Bitcoin on the Coinbase chart over gold on the, I think it's the commodities chart. So I could get the, priced in an ounce of gold. So the way you read this chart, if you look at that first yellow circle, and I looked at the period from 2021 until present. So from 2021 until now. Why? Well, we had that huge sell-off near the end of 2021 into 2022, a bear market with most of the risk on assets, and since then, an incredible bull market with most risk on assets. So it kind of encapsulated the end of a bull, a bear, the next bull, to see how well did it do over that time period. That's why I chose 4 hours. I put the chart on a 5-day chart because I was looking for specific things. When do we get opposing signals the most frequently? What do I mean by opposing signals? Sell signals and buy signals. And I was looking at when it's at least 1 standard deviation above or below the mean. At least a half a standard deviation above or below the mean. I assigned a little bit more value to it if it was more than 1 standard deviation above or below the mean, right? I'm looking at that on the mean reversion chart. I'm looking at the price in relation to the confluence clouds. I have the double confluence cloud on here. And then I'm looking at buy and sell signals, but that's not the only time I'm going to take this trade because, again, I'm not looking for perfection with this trade. I'm just looking for close enough. And then last but not least, I'm looking for a trend flip. I'm looking for the trend to flip. So you'll notice some of these circles are not at absolute tops and bottoms. In fact, if you look at the center of each circle, none of them did I say that I nailed the absolute top or the absolute bottom. Sometimes within a few percent, sometimes like 10%. Or maybe even 15% of whatever the top or bottom was. Last but not least, I threw a fib line on there recently. And finally, all the way to the right-hand side is your scale. that is in ounces of gold. So the scale at the bottom starts at 5 and at the top is at 45. That means 5 ounces of gold per 1 Bitcoin or 45 ounces of gold per 1 Bitcoin. I hope that makes sense here with the chart. So what you'll note there are 9 trades, 9 yellow circles. I have some labels in there so you can kind of have an idea of when you would want to go from Bitcoin to gold or when you would want to go from gold to Bitcoin, when gold's winning versus Bitcoin is winning. And last but not least, I did throw in there when the interest hikes began, right? Notice that caused Bitcoin, because it's listed first on this graph, to tumble in relation to gold, okay? So here's the trades. You start with 1 Bitcoin and 15.8 ounces of gold, which was equivalent to 1 Bitcoin on January 1st, 2021. So that would have been about $60,000. Bitcoin was going for around $30,000 plus or minus, let's say 5%, right? I just picked where they were the closest, where it would be 30,000 on Bitcoin on the 1st of January and 30,000 worth of gold. So you're starting with $60,000 to begin with. There are 9 pair trades. So on 4/16/21, you took 1 Bitcoin at 32.37 ounces per Bitcoin and sold it and acquired 32.37 ounces of gold. Add that to the 15.8 that you started with, and you're now at 48.17 ounces of gold, and you've started the process. Yes, pair trading, it's a process. Don't look at it every day, every week. Think of it in terms of months or years. These are stores of value, guys. These aren't like meme stocks that we're trading here. These aren't high-flying tech stocks. These are your store of value. This is all that hard work you put in. So you're only looking for the best of best trades. Keep that part in mind, okay? On July 20th, 2021, you took your 48.17 ounces of gold at a ratio of 19.28, and that got you 2.5 Bitcoin. On November 12th, 2021, the 2.5 Bitcoin at 32.31 became 80.77 ounces of gold. On July 15th, that 80.77 ounces of gold became 6.426 Bitcoin. On April 5th, 2024, the 6.426 Bitcoin became 191 ounces of gold. On September 12th, the 191 ounces of gold became 8.246 Bitcoin. On January 31st of this year, the 8.246 Bitcoin became 300 ounces of gold. On April 16th, the 300 ounces of gold became 10.99 Bitcoin. And finally, on August 14th of this year, the 10.99 or almost 11 Bitcoin became 381 ounces of gold. Again, these are where the trades took place. The first one you see up there, upper left-hand side, that is Bitcoin to gold, and then gold to Bitcoin, Bitcoin to gold, gold to Bitcoin, Bitcoin to gold, gold to Bitcoin, Bitcoin to gold, gold to Bitcoin, and finally Bitcoin to gold. That takes us to the end of these trades. Now, this is the money shot. Get ready. Here we go. If you started on 1/1/2021 with 1 Bitcoin and 15.8 ounces of gold, or $60,000, had you held the 1 Bitcoin and the 15.8 ounces of gold, you would have 120,000 plus 60,000, 703. That is $180,703, or about a 3x. You turned your 60 grand into 180 grand. If instead you were all in Bitcoin, so you didn't have 1 Bitcoin and 15.8 ounces of gold, but you had 2 Bitcoin instead, which was also worth 60,000 to start with, you'd have $240,000 today, or a 4x. So this is where the comparisons come in. If instead you had held 31.6 ounces of gold, like you didn't have that 1 Bitcoin to begin with, you had it all in gold, 100% in gold, your gold would be worth $121,407 today, or about a 2x. And that's where people say Bitcoin is twice as good as gold. Okay, fair enough. Bitcoin has better performance. Okay, fair enough. But what if you pair traded them? With those 9 trades since the beginning of January of 2021, about 4 years. Not quite. We're not at 4 years yet, guys. There's still room for this to grow. And what if you ended with 381 ounces of gold? You don't have any Bitcoin right now. You'd have 1.463802. You'd have 1.463 million flipping dollars right now. That is a 24.4x from $60,000. 24.4x starting with 60,000. You could have literally pair traded gold and Bitcoin since 2021 and retired. Many people could have turned 60 grand into $1.46 million. And that allows many people to retire. It gives you a whole hell of a lot more choices. You could buy that house you wanted. You could buy the house and throw a couple cars in there. You could maybe get married if you've been waiting to do that. You could go have kids if you've been waiting to do that. You could go on that vacation you've been wanting to go on. You could retire that spouse that you've been wanting to retire. There are so many choices that you have when you have $1.46 million than if you had 180, 121, or 240. Right? Way, way different, guys. So what does that prove? Pair trading beats holding either Bitcoin or gold by themselves by anywhere from 6 to 12x. Your portfolio is over $1 million higher no matter how you look at it. $1 million higher no matter how you look at it, okay? So I hope you guys found some value in this. If you want to see more content like this, make sure you like this video. Comment below. What'd you like best? What'd you learn most? What would you like to see more of? What else do you want to see me compare, right? What else do you want to see me put out there? I am doing this for you to try to help as many of you guys do your best to get on that financial freedom train, right? Make sure you're subscribed to the channel too, guys. It, quote, helps the algorithm. I don't care about that. It helps you because you end up seeing more content like mine. If you find value in it, subscribe. That way you see a whole lot more like it from not only me, but others that are busting their butts trying to get this content out too. Book a course with me. The individual appointments, those are full right now. I can't take on any new clients. I apologize, but you can book a course with me. I teach a course on TradingView and technical analysis so you can learn the charts inside and out. I teach one on understanding options so that you can understand how you can leverage things with options. We didn't talk about any of that today, but I often talk about it when I'm talking about equities. So I'll make sure there's a link so that you guys can go directly to gdinerocoaching.com and book a course with me today. And finally, guys, thanks for tuning in. I'm G Dinero. I'm here to help you increase your financial literacy to help put you and your family on that path to financial freedom. Again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Have a great weekend.